If you're thinking of setting up your own podcast, you're going to be competing with 3 million others. Fear not, we have some advice for you from the former Wall Street Journal podcast producer, Mathew Passy. And Mathew joins us now. So, Mathew, we've got something like 3 million podcasts out there, and there's tens of thousands of people trying to launch their own podcast every year, perhaps more than that. What is the basic equipment that someone needs in order to compete in that market?
Well, I mean, the truth is, if you are just kind of testing out the podcasting market and you're not sure if this is right for you, you can start with the smartphone, right? The device in your pocket has a pretty good microphone. And truthfully, just start recording your thoughts, recording yourself talking into it. See if you are comfortable when the mic is actually there. Most people think they can talk, and then when there's a microphone, they panic. If you want to take it to the next level, you can invest in like $40 to $60 USB-enabled dynamic microphones. Literally, these microphones look like the handheld microphones you'd see commonly, by musicians and other stage performers. Plug it in from the back into your computer via USB. It even has a headphone jack so that you can have earbuds plugged into it. And I used to carry one of these around in my laptop bag so I could podcast on the go whenever I wanted to. They're cheap, easy, and they're going to take your quality from about a 3 or a 4 way up to about a 7 or an 8.
And do you need to put acoustic foam around your bedroom or your study or whatever it might be?
I mean, if you want to, you can, but with these dynamic microphones, these are microphones where you really have to push the sound into versus what's known as condenser microphones that kind of actively look for sound around them. With a good dynamic microphone, you shouldn't have to worry too much. Maybe avoid very echoey rooms with lots of glass, lots of wood, not a lot of furniture, right? Things with softer surfaces. But for the most part, I wouldn't get too crazy with sound treatment and soundproofing until your podcast is much further along and you're looking to invest more money into it.
And in terms of picking a style and a subject matter, should you be consistent? And what subject should you pick? I mean, not in particular, but should it be something that's very dear to you, for example?
Well, yeah, I mean, this is the one place where most podcasters are probably going to get frustrated and quit, or as we call pod fade, very quickly. So when I was working with lots of clients, I often heard the phrase, I want to start a podcast, but I don't know what to do it on. Then you don't need to start a podcast. You should be doing a podcast on a topic or a subject that when you wake up every morning, you are thinking about, you are working on, something that you want to talk about. Even if you only had 1 or no listeners, you have to be passionate about this topic because it's a lot of work. It's a marathon, not a sprint. And if you don't want to be there, if you're not excited by this, if you're, clearly frustrated by the process, why would I want to listen to it? So yes, start with passion, start with your expertise, start with your curiosities. Think about why you want to do this before just saying, I'm going to do this.
And what strategies can you advise to get yourself noticed? It's such a crowded market.
It is a crowded market. And truthfully, the couple of things that I have seen that tend to work best are twofold. One is finding a niche that, find a void, find a need that is out there in the market that you can fill. If you're an expert on subject A and nobody is doing a podcast on subject A, go for it. There are people like you, I'm sure, who are hungry for that kind of content. And so that's one of the best ways to be successful is to find a place that people are yearning for better content and provide it for them. The other thing is to be creative. There are hundreds of thousands of podcasters who are all following the same formula, who are all trying to do the same thing. And yeah, we don't need another blah, 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 whatever that kind of podcast is that you are talking about. Try to be unique, try to be creative, try to make something that people are talking about, thinking about, and want to tell other people to check out because it's new and exciting.
Is there a way of getting podcast platforms to increase your visibility?
There are some platforms that you can pay to have advertising done on, such as the Overcast app with the iPhone device. They've got a great, advertising market that you can pay to do. Pocket Cast is something very similar. When it comes to platforms like Apple Podcasts, which is, well known as one of the top podcasting platforms, that's really an editorial choice for them to select who's going to be on the front page of their store. And you have to submit a form, go through a few steps. There's lots of hurdles that they make you jump through. And truthfully, a lot of those are going to be timing and luck. If they're doing something on, Pride Month as a topic, then that's a good time to submit your podcast if you talk about, LGBTQ issues or something to that effect. But otherwise, it's really just about creating exciting content and getting other people to talk about it. We it's hard to promote yourself and to have people believe you. It's a lot easier for friends and families and others to go around telling people, hey, you should check this out. I like it. I think you would like it too.
And just finally, Matthew, we've been talking today about how the mainstream media are losing viewers, and they are, of course, trying to get into the podcast market using services like yourself. Are they being successful?
I think there are certainly a number of large media companies who understand that it's not just about repackaging and redistributing your television content and putting that out as podcasts and calling it a strategy. The ones who tend to be doing well are the ones like, the New York Times, who created a brand new, interesting show called The Daily years ago that is, you know, different than just reading some headlines. Or you have something like Start Here from ABC News, which is a nice little look at some of the stories of the day. But better yet, some of these personalities on bigger broadcasting networks, cable networks, they are doing their own shows where they're taking creative topics, going long form, deep, getting intimate. And those are the ones that you're going to see doing well, not just, hey, we've got a show on, the 6 o'clock news every night. We're just going to take the audio, put it out there as a podcast. Yeah, that's a useful resource for people who didn't get to catch the show, but it's not going to draw a
Got it.
huge audience. It's not going to move the market. It's not going to make people go, ooh, that's exciting.